sweet loves, welcome to the Heroines Path podcast, a sacred space for awakening women wishing to transcend limitations, blaze their own trail, and return to divine wholeness. I'm Cece, healing priestess, transformation mentor, and spiritual coach, and I'll be your guide as we go on this quest of reclamation, activation, and ascension. Together we'll dive into heart-centered wisdom, mystical stories, illuminating tools, and masculine-feminine dynamics across the areas of life, love, and business. See this podcast as part of a soulful new pilgrimage, a journey to meet your highest self. Remember, you're a self-leading queen, and no one knows you better than you, so receive what your soul needs and leave the rest. Heroine, it's time to forget who you've been taught to be and become all that you were born to be. Let's take one another by the hand. Together we rise. Loves, welcome back to another episode of the Heroines Path podcast. I'm so excited to have you here for this episode. Today, I am going to be sharing a personal story and experience with you and really inviting you into something that is very sacred and very intimate for me on my journey from wounded maiden to empowered and embodied queen. And I took the decision a few months ago now to really honor that journey and to create some ritual and some ceremony around that journey for myself, and to make an investment that felt very illogical to my mind, but very much in alignment with my heart and my body. And I want to take you on that journey with me today. So we're going to dive in and I'm going to share everything about my experience of having my boobs and my pussy or my vulva casted and turned into art. Not sure if you expected me to say that, but I am so excited to be sharing this journey with you and bringing you into this, like I say, super intimate experience that I've had with myself. So you may or may not know, but I turned 30 this year in July 10th, 1991. I was born, Cancer Sun, Gemini Moon, Virgo Rising, all the other planets in Leo. And I am a self-projected projector, if you're into human design, with a 3-5 profile. And what else is there? I'm an Enneagram 3. And I would share my gene keys with you, but I think that will take up the entire episode. And really, I think that deserves like an episode in and of itself, but it's kind of connected to human design. Definitely Google that if you haven't heard of gene keys already. They are so unbelievably expansive. Anyway, so my birthday was in July of this year and I was turning 30. And such a beautiful kind of link of experiences. I don't even know what that means. A beautiful, what am I trying to say? Unfolding of various experiences happened one after the other, like a little domino effect, to bring me to the experience I want to tell you about today. The first one was at the beginning of this year, in January of this year, I made a decision to set an intention, to set 2 intentions actually. The first one was to deeply connect to my divine masculine energy and to become more present, more grounded, and more into integrity. And the other intention was to deeply open up to my divine feminine energy and to allow life to move me, to guide me, and to present the experiences that I need for the next level of my expansion. So those were my intentions at the beginning of this year, of course, mirroring and marrying into sacred union the 2 parts of myself, the 2 halves of my whole, the God and Goddess within. So life is always listening, as we know. And a couple of months went by where I was meeting people and having experiences that were cracking me open, bringing me to deeper understanding of myself. I was meeting women who were really embodied in their sexuality and in their sensuality and in their practices. And that was calling me into deeper embodiment in my own devotional practices as well. And I was having situations in my business that were calling me into deeper alignment and deeper integrity. So life was moving me into both of these intentions. And I think it was around March time when I came across an amazing lady called Lydia Reeves. And Lydia is a vulva casting artist. I saw her work on Instagram and I saw these vulvas in all different colors, like sort of lining along her wall in her studio, and lots of sets of boobs as well. And I literally was stopped in my tracks. Like I'd never seen anything like it. And I was so drawn in to this work. And it's one of the times in my life where I've really felt like an inexplicable pull to something. Like I logically, I've never felt any kind of way really about my vulva. I've never been insecure about it, but I also have never been like obsessed with it. It's just, it's a part of me. It exists. And I haven't really connected to it in any kind of way. I will say about my boobs, they're kind of like one of my favorite parts of my body, mostly because they're really perky, and I'm just going to fully own this. My boobs are really perky and my nipples point like up to the sky, and so I've kind of earned the reputation amongst my friends of having magic boobs because I don't need to wear a bra and they will still be perky, which is obviously lovely. But that being said, all boobs, all shapes and sizes, all directions are all perfect. It's just I feel particularly proud of mine. So I have felt connected to my boobs, but never really to my vulva. But something was drawing me in, and I'd recently read the book Pussy, a Reclamation by Regena Thomashauer. And if you haven't read that book, I definitely recommend it. It's such a vibe and it's such a liberating and expansive read. I mean, even the title, the word pussy, might be activating for you, might be triggering for you, might make you feel uncomfortable, might make you feel a bit disgusted, or it might make you feel excited and turned on. And that's amazing too. For me, it was like eye catching, and I'm in the practice of like things that trigger me or activate me a little bit, like that kind of turns me on because it's a part of myself that I get to reclaim. So when I feel a little bit triggered by something, or when I feel, I don't want to say intimidated, but I almost feel like, ooh, like that, seeing that word has made me feel like slightly uncomfortable, like I haven't fully claimed that within myself and I don't know how I feel about it. That to me is an invitation. Like that to me is a really exciting thing when that happens. And don't get me wrong, there might sometimes be negative emotions to move through, in terms of, you know, feeling the trigger, feeling the uncomfortability, feeling the awkwardness, but then it's always really swiftly followed by an excited, turned on, interested and intrigued feeling as well. So I would love to extend that invitation to you. Next time you feel a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit triggered by something, how quickly can you sit with the feeling and really embrace it and honor what's coming through for you, and B, how quickly can you transmute that or transform that uncomfortability or that pain or that awkwardness into a feeling of excitement and turn on and aliveness by the fact that you get to reclaim another part of yourself, a part that you have been distanced from, or perhaps that you've suppressed, or that you've been shamed for, and you get to return a piece of your soul to its rightful place. And that is always the most beautiful feeling. So that's my invitation for you. So I saw these vulvas, and like I say, it was this inexplicable feeling of like, I need one. Like, your girl needs a vulva on her wall. Like, done. It was a done deal. I didn't care how much it was. I didn't care that there was no rhyme or reason to it. I didn't care that it was a completely quote unquote unnecessary object. I was like, I'm turning 30 this year and I need nothing more than to turn my body into a piece of artwork. Like, it felt so right. It felt so luxurious. It felt so exciting. It felt kind of OTT and bougie. And I was so here for that feeling. Like, that is actually the feeling I wanted from it. Like, yeah, it serves no purpose logically or practically, but then what art does, like what I've also got, I'm looking at my vulva right now. It sits on my workspace altar. I've also got in front of me an absolutely beautiful mudra, like a hand, like an artwork that's a sculpture of a Chinese Buddha making the mudra with his hand, putting the thumb and forefinger together. Serves no practical purpose, but for me, it brings me deep contemplation, deep peace, and also it's the meaning behind it. The meaning behind that hand, that mudra, is the passing on of spiritual knowledge and teaching. And that is an external reflection of what my purpose is in this lifetime. So, yeah, there was no rhyme or reason to it, but I was like, I need to message Lydia. I DM'd her straight away. I was like, I need to book in for one of these vulva casts. And then she was like telling me that you can also have boobs. She also does bum casting. She does pregnancy bump casting. She does a lot of castings for women who've had breast cancer or have scars on their breasts. And they want to honor that journey and that transition as well. Her work is absolutely incredible. And we've actually had Lydia come in to my membership, my online sacred sisterhood, the Heroines Circle. We had Lydia come in, and the interview with her is going live this month, September 2021. So if you are called to hear more about Lydia's work, Lydia's story, and you really want to understand what it means to harness the power of your vulva, then definitely jump inside my membership. I'll give you some more details about that at the end. And also, just so you know, I will be bringing the vulva and the boob casts to this month's full moon ceremony. So we have a masterclass every new moon and a ceremony every full moon. And this month we will be opening up really safe, non-judgmental, expansive conversation, healing conversation around our vulvas, around sex, around our bodies, body liberation, body empowerment, and how we feel about pleasure and sensuality and women's sexuality. So that's going to be a really beautiful, maybe slightly uncomfortable, but deeply, deeply healing conversation that needs to be had amongst women in a safe and non-judgmental space. So if you feel called to explore that, you want to explore your body, your relationship to yourself, to your pussy, to your pleasure, to your power, surrounded by sisters who are on the same journey as you, then check out my membership, the Heroines Circle. It is calling your name, and we are so here and so ready to hold space for you. Okay, so I went into my appointment with Lydia. I booked it for she had some appointments a few months later, so I had to wait a little while. I decided to go for the vulva and the boobs, which I thought was just the most exciting and the most bougie way to celebrate my body, because like I say, I wanted the vulva more for like the power and the reclamation and the edge, like pushing my own edge. And then I just could not leave without the boob casts, because like I say, my boobs have always been one of my favorite parts of my body and the part that I'm most grateful for, because they make me feel super sexy and I really feel like I have been blessed with them. So until I have children, I was like, right, I need to commemorate the magic boobs. So I went down to my appointment. Lydia is absolutely wonderful. She makes you feel so comfortable, so safe. And we moved through the casting. It didn't take too long. And I'm pretty comfortable naked. Like, I've always been pretty comfortable naked. Even when I was quite a bit heavier than I am now, I've always had this mindset, like, I'm not going to let my insecurities get in the way of me living my life moment to moment. So I've never stopped myself from wearing bikinis I want to wear or swim costumes I want to wear. And I've always got changed in front of, I'm super close to my sister. Me and my sister are like best friends, and we've lived together for a few years up until recently. And I'm very close with my girlfriends as well. So I'm really, really comfortable naked. I always change in front of my friends and that sort of thing. So that part wasn't scary for me, wasn't intimidating for me. And like I say, Lydia definitely makes you feel really comfortable. well. So I was kind of going through the appointment, super confident. My sister came with me. She was like taking little bits of content, obviously staying up by my head, making sure she didn't get any actual vagina footage. Because obviously I wanted to share this with my Instagram when the time was right, with my community on there. And yeah, so moved through that, and I was trying to decide. Do you know what? It's so funny. Like, I have this weird personality where I'm either, I don't know if you're like this, but I can be so clear and decisive on some things. Like, you present me with two options, and like intuitively, I'm just like option A or option B. But then when it comes to like other stuff, I can be so indecisive. Like, sometimes I'm really indecisive about food, what I want to eat. Sometimes I can be really indecisive about my like stupid little things, like what color I'm going to get my nails painted, because I have this thing where like colors and choices of self-expression are like, they're not just like, oh yeah, I'll get red because red's nice. Like, the color of my nails has to represent my soul that day and that week and that moment. Like, that's how seriously I take these decisions. So like, when I was choosing the color for my casts, for my vulva and boob casts, I was like, there were all sorts of colors. Like, she has metallic, sparkly, pastel colors, like pinks, oranges, dark blues, ones that literally look like the universe, like constellations, like so many beautiful, incredible options to choose from. I was like overwhelmed AF. Like, I was literally like, do I get pink because pink's my favorite color? But then I was like, but I also do feel like orange really represents like my soul and my vibes. And then when it comes to clothes, like, I love beige. Like, even right now I'm recording this wearing a beige jumper. Like, beige is my vibe. Beige and gold has always been like my clothing palette. But then I saw this absolutely stunning like central piece in the middle of the wall, which was like a woman had had her one breast and a shoulder and part of her chest casted, with then like an arm and a hand almost placed on her heart space. It was the most stunning thing I've ever seen. And she had had it cast in like a really dark gray resin, like a charcoal color almost. And I just thought to myself, you know what? That is the color for me, because for me personally, like, that looks the most expensive, that looks the most like craftsman-like, and I think it's going to stand the test of time, and it's going to look like a real work of art, like almost look like molten metal, like it had been poured liquid gold. No, not even liquid gold, liquid like mercury or something, you know, like charcoaly gray color. Obviously not liquid gold. So I was like, right, I'm going to choose that and then take the colors away from me because I don't want to change my mind. So I went for this beautiful charcoal gray color. And then what Lydia does is she casts your body parts, and then she shows you like the imprint that your body has made. And that was the point where I actually had some flutters of insecurity, which I wasn't expecting, because when she showed me my vulva cast, I suddenly looked at it and thought, like, oh my God, my lips look really big. And I've never ever thought that before. I've never looked in the mirror and been insecure about my vulva or my vagina or how it looks. But it was seeing it from a different angle, seeing it front on, I guess, made me think like, oh God, like, what if people think that my lips are really big? What if people think that my vulva looks weird or, yeah, like doesn't look normal? And then I immediately placed my hand on my heart, took a deep breath, and just said, Cece, this is the work. Like, this is you pushing your edges. Like, if you, once you receive the cast, like, that is a literal imprint of your body. Like, it's no one else's body. Like, it's like, I can't explain to you the detail, guys, that come on these imprints. Like, you can see every scar, every pore. You can see every tiny indent. You can see everything. And so I was just like, well, if I can't learn to love that, and that's literally me and my body, how it looks like exactly today, then I can't learn to love myself at all. Like, so this is the portal and the gateway to me achieving, or not even achieving, like, that's such a, I don't even think that's the right resonance for what I'm trying to say here. Like, this is the portal and the gateway for me embodying and claiming radical self-love. not just loving the parts of myself that I like or that I get to look at every day, or the parts of myself that I like in certain angles and pictures, but like seeing yourself from the angle that you would never choose, seeing yourself in broad daylight, like seeing yourself just up close and personal and in stark, realistic form. No filter, no nothing. This is who you are. And if you can sit with that and move through the uncomfortable feelings that arise there, then that is truly where our liberation and our empowerment is to be found. So I was like, okay, like we could move through it. And when it arrives, like if you don't love it straight away, that's okay. But like you can take your time and you can learn to love it, and you can build and, and create a relationship with this part of your body. And then the same thing happened again with the boobs, which again, I really wasn't expecting, because I've always loved that part of my body, but she pulled the cast away and I was like, they're freaking wonky, guys. Like one nipple is there and one nipple is up there. Like they were so much more non-symmetrical than I was expecting. And again, immediately this voice, this nurturing inner mother that I've created came through, hand on heart, and was like, darling, this is the work. Like that's what you look like. That's your body. Like it's perfect in its imperfection. And there isn't a single woman on this planet that has perfectly symmetrical breasts or perfectly small lips, because that's not perfect, because there is no perfect. Every single woman on this planet, and I deeply, deeply believe this for me, I hold this reality for myself, I hold this reality for you. You are perfect in your imperfection. You are perfect in your imperfection. And the parts of your body that you think are slightly odd or don't look quote unquote normal or don't feel beautiful to you are actually the parts and the pieces of yourself where you get to claim the most radical levels of self-love. They are the parts of you that you get to reclaim your most expansive power. Because if you can meet yourself there, if you can meet yourself in those parts where at first it's like, I don't like this feels icky, this feels uncomfortable, I don't like looking at this part of myself, and whether that's your vulva or whether that's your arms from a weird direction or angle that you would never choose to have a photograph taken from, or whether that's your double chin, or whether that's your side profile, or whether that's your rolls when you sit down, or whether it's your knobbly knees, or whether it's your really long second toe, or maybe that's just me. I have such weird long toes. I defo would have been burnt as a witch. Like, let's just not lie. Not only for the work I do, but just purely for my extra long toe. Um, if you can look at that part of yourself, like fuck the parts where you think you look good, like fuck off the filters and the part, like, and I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love a filter. I've had my lips done. Like I have no shame about taking moments to enhance what you have and to empower yourself through making choices about your own body. Like, let's just not get that twisted. I love wearing makeup. I love wearing bougie clothes. I have my hair dyed. I wear fake tan. Like I put lashes on. I have my nails done. Like, I love all of that stuff, but let's put that to the side for 1 second. And let's really see who we get to be when there's no camera around and there's no filter on us. And we are face to face with the one part of ourselves that makes us feel less than, makes us feel slightly ashamed, makes us feel icky and queasy and like we don't want anyone else to see us there. The part of our body that we think lets us down, the part of our body that we think isn't feminine enough or isn't sexy or sensual enough. And if we can meet ourselves there, and if we can deeply love ourselves in our imperfection, in our non-symmetry, in our awkwardness, in our quirks and in our weirdness, and if we can love ourselves there and we can spend enough time there to the point where that icky awkwardness starts to burn away, because of your deep presence and love and understanding, because of your masculine presence and your feminine, fierce love, your inner father, your inner mother, your inner king, your inner queen, because of those energies coming through and sitting there and not distracting yourself and not trying to look for quick fixes or shortcuts, but sitting in deep presence and fierce love with the parts of ourselves that we find awkward and icky and uncomfortable. And at first, it's not going to be a perfect quick fix. At first, nothing might seem like it's changing. But slowly and surely, as you visit that part of yourself over and over again, the ickiness starts to burn away. Little by little, the awkwardness starts to transmute and transform into something wildly more powerful. And that is reclamation. Reclamation of your own innate power. Reclamation of your own innate worthiness. Reclamation of what it means to be a woman. And so when my casts arrived the other day, because it's a long old 12-week wait, which feels like forever, when my casts arrived, I took a deep, expansive, grounding breath. And I prepared myself to see them. And I made an intention with myself to love them no matter what. No matter what came out of that box and that bubble wrap, I said to myself, I'm going to love these no matter what, because this is me. This is a divine mirror for who I am. This is an external reflection of my own divinity and power. This is also the symbol of the part of me that knew deep down before my logical brain had time to catch up that I am so unbelievably worthy of celebrating and worshipping myself and my body. You may have heard the word yoni along the way as well. Yoni is the Sanskrit word that many people use for their vulvas, their vaginas, their pussies. Yoni means sacred temple, sacred space, temple. So when I pulled my little beautiful, gorgeous vulva cast out of its bubble wrap, I saw the gateway to my sacred temple, and I absolutely loved it. It's so beautiful to me. I'm looking at it right now, and it is the most beautiful, exquisite thing I've ever seen. Every time I look at it, I see something different. Sometimes I see the wings of a butterfly opening before it takes off in flight. Sometimes I see beautiful rose petals wilting and dropping. Sometimes I see the most juicy and beautiful gateway into a cave where I get to discover joys and riches and gold. And I'm sure tomorrow I'll see something different. Right now I'm looking at it, and even though it's made of resin, it looks so real. I can almost feel the softness. I can feel the firmness at the same time. I can feel the pleasure when I stare at my clitoris, and I can feel the juices erupting from the inner sanctum. And I can see all of my pores. I can even see a little scar where I know I've got one. I can even see down as it goes into my thighs, my bum area. And it just is the most wonderful landscape to explore and to meditate and to contemplate on, and to act as a divine mirror, and to remind me every day when I see that, to remind me of where my power lies. Because it's not out there. It's not something I need to go and get. And this goes for you too, my love. It's not something you need to go and get. It's not something you need to go and discover. Your only task is to remove every single part of you that stands in the way of your own radical self-love and your own reclamation of your self-knowing, your oracle, your intuition, your deep inner knowing. And there are many, many paths to that mountain. And that's up to you to go on a journey of understanding how your intuition and your oracle presents itself to you. But I can guarantee that if you spend even 5 minutes after this podcast episode taking some deep breaths and sending your awareness down from your mind, down all the way through your body and into your vulva, into the opening of your vagina, into your pubic bone, into your womb, your cervix, your vaginal walls, and even into your breasts and your heart space, you will have downloads of the most enchanting and magnificent capacity, like the messages that your body will give you. And they may not be always happy and pleasurable and exciting at first, because as women, we have spent so many years neglecting and suppressing and shaming ourselves. And society has given us that imprint, that conditioning, right, to shame and repress our own power systems and our own bodies. And what we do as a way to numb out from the fact that we're so disconnected and so spiritually thirsty is we often, as feminine beings, we consume, consume, consume. And so if you're anything like me, then you will have probably had quite a lot of unconscious sex, both with partners and perhaps with other people, one night stands, random flings, etc., where you are not conscious and you're not bringing your full intent into that sexual experience. Oftentimes you might have been drunk, too drunk to really even remember it fully, or even if you were sober, you may have found that you disassociated from your own pleasure. And what I would do for to speak from my own experience is often speed through sex to try and get to the end, manipulate men into orgasming so that sex could be over. I would resist foreplay and just give because I was too embarrassed to be seen in my own pleasure, and I didn't think I was worthy of receiving. I used to have, I didn't have any sober sex for probably 4 years between the breakup of my toxic and abusive relationship in 2016 and the year I decided to go celibate for a year, which was August 2020. So, yeah, 4 years of drunk sex. So there is a lot of trauma and a lot of baggage and a lot of armor created in our cervix and in our vaginal walls and in our lips and in our openings. So in our vulva, we need to send so much love there, guys. We need to send so much love. And this might look like taking a mirror and just having a look at your vulva and making friends with it and allowing yourself to feel and honor any emotions that come through for you as you take part in that beautiful and sacred practice. You might find that you cry because you feel guilty at how much you've neglected her. Or you might find that you look away because you feel that she's ugly and that she's undeserving of love. Or you might feel turned on and excited by the fact that you can experience pleasure on your own without the need for any external stimulus. You've got 8,000 nerve endings right there ready to serve you with pleasure any time of day, anytime you need. And it's just you plus you. And that is the most powerful thing. In the book I mentioned at the start, Pussy by Regena Thomashauer, she says one of her practices is as she's going through life, whether she's on a date or she's in the supermarket queue or she's, parking the car, whatever it might be. And in her head, or sometimes out loud, I guess if she's on her own, she says, I have the most beautiful pussy in all of New York. Because that's where she lives. So how could you go about your day and just drop into your pussy and just connect and say, I have the most beautiful, luxurious, juiciest pussy in, and then you can insert where you live, or you could even say the whole damn freaking world, because you do. Your pussy has superpowers. It's magnetic. Yeah, your womb is the portal of all creation, whether or not you choose to have children or whether or not you can have children. And even if you don't have a womb, the space still carries the imprint of where your womb would be. And so connecting to this sacral center, this sacral chakra, and down into your yoni, that is where you can start to source your power from within. And you can start to use the metaphor and the mythological symbolism around being a birthing creature, around being a woman that can give birth both physically or more symbolically to projects, creative endeavors, businesses, etc. Then you can start to harness the power of pussy. And so that is what I chose to do when I made the decision back in March of 2021 to get a beautiful resin cast made of my vulva and my boobs, but they were more just for good measure. But the vulva is the most powerful one. And I was really happy and delighted when I took it out of its box. And I just, because of the work I'd done, mental preparation, the intention, the opening of my heart space, the grounding of my nervous system, because of the intentions that I had in that practice, I was able to fully embrace and love what I saw in that mirror when it was presented to me. So, my loves, I hope that you took away lots of inspiration and juicy nuggets from this podcast episode and enjoyed having a little window into the ritual and the ceremony that I created for myself, because that is what is missing from our society, guys. The ritual and ceremony I created for myself around turning 30 and around, really more importantly than age, this navigating this transition from wounded maiden into embodied and empowered queen. And I'm going to go into that in a lot more detail in future episodes. But for now, just sit with those words and what you think that means. Wounded maiden to empowered and embodied queen. I'd be really interested to hear either via my DMs on Instagram or drop me an email. Let me know what that means to you. What comes up for you when you hear that phrase, wounded maiden to empowered and embodied queen? I'd also love to hear what this episode has brought up for you, whether it's triggered you, whether it's made you feel awkward, whether you had to stop it and come back to it, or whether it's excited you and turned you on and made you think, you know what, I want to go get my own vulva cast. That sounds absolutely incredible. I would love to hear from you. And please do check out Lydia. Her Instagram is Lydia_Reeves_artist. So definitely check her out as well. And if you want to go deeper on this journey, both with Lydia and her work, and also you're craving a safe space surrounded by sisters on a spiritual journey where you can heal, where you can awaken, where you can transcend your limitations and start to call back all of your parts so that you can create the ceremony and the ritual needed to guide you and help you move from wounded maiden into empowered and embodied queen. And it's not just a one-size journey and then, okay, I'm done. You could be an empowered and embodied queen with your work and still be a bit wounded maiden when it comes to your relationships. Or you could be an empowered and embodied queen in the bedroom with your man, but then you might still have a lot of sister wounding coming up. And I've done a podcast episode on sister wounds already, so go and listen to that if you haven't done so far. So my membership is open to you. You can join anytime from the link in my bio on Instagram at Coach by CC. It will also be in the show notes. So if you want to join, feel free to have a look there. The link will be there. Or you can head to my website, coachbycc.com. And I am giving you a beautiful and abundant bonus so that if you join, you get £10 off your first 3 months. Use the code ABUNDANCEBABY at the checkout, all capital letters, ABUNDANCEBABY, and you will be able to receive £10 off your first 3 months with us. The next full moon is September 2021, and that is on Tuesday, the 21st of September. So if you listen to this podcast and you join before then, you'll be able to come to our full moon ceremony where we do a beautiful combination of ritual, of sharing, of discussion, of expansive topics, journaling, deep, powerful goddess-themed visualizations, archetypal journey visualizations. We always pull an oracle card, and we always do some embodied and sensual movement too, just to get us into our bodies, to land us into our heart space, to land us into our wombs, into our yonis, just into our body generally, and also to amplify the power of the intentions that we're setting or what we're choosing to let go of and release, and to surrender that and rebirth it as sacred sisterhood and radical self-love. Okay, my darlings, this has been such a beautiful and liberating episode to share with you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and your feedback, and I will speak to you all again next week. Bye, my darlings.